So, folks, we gotta talk about the crisis that is looming over the White House. And it all stems from this particular piece in the New York Times. Inside the White House, freak out over the Epstein files. And I find this absolutely fascinating, right? Because, if Donald Trump hasn't done anything wrong, if Donald Trump isn't heavily implicated by the Epstein files, why were they freaking out over the Epstein files? Now, an important thing to note about this particular story, it's by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, right? And this is from their upcoming book called Regime Change Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump. And this piece is, obvious. It's an excerpt, and it goes over like a lot of different events that took place, right? But right here, the opening part of this, on July 17th, 2025, at around 6 o'clock in the evening, President Trump's top officials filed into the White House Situation Room, the secure bunker where classified and high-stakes national security matters are discussed and decided. This was where President Barack Obama, along with Vice President Joe Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and the president's national security team watched the raid that ended with the death of Osama bin Laden in 2011. Now, however, Trump's most senior advisors had gathered without him to figure out how to gain some measure of control over a very different kind of crisis threatening to engulf the presidency: the Epstein files. Now, what is fascinating about this particular story is that there are a lot of really interesting details in this about the different members of the administration trying to run cover for Donald Trump, being associated with Jeffrey Epstein and being in the files so often. Like J.D. Vance in particular really took really took it up a notch, right? He was the one leading this. Vice President J.D. Vance took a seat at the head of the table in the John F. Kennedy conference room in the Situation Room complex. "This is a huge problem," he told the group. Arrayed around him were White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, the White House Counsel David Warrington, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Deputy Chief of Staff Taylor Budowich, and the Communications Director Stephen Chung, the Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, the Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward Jr., and the Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and the FBI Director Kash Patel joined on speakerphone. The Vice President appeared panicked to others in the room about the way the subject of Epstein was already dividing the MAGA coalition. And I want you all to note here, "This is a huge problem" is in quotes. Now, what is interesting about this particular story is that there are a number of these quotes throughout this entire story about this Situation Room meeting. There were too many quotes. And now, the Trump administration is absolutely terrified about this upcoming book. Specifically, here's from Axios as of 2 days ago. Trump aides fear Haberman and Swan obtain Situation Room tapes for regime change. And what that means is there are apparently people in the Trump administration who believe that somehow Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan obtained recordings from the Situation Room, a room that is supposed to be one of the most secure places for information on Earth. And the question is, how the fuck did that happen? How the fuck did someone get recordings from the inside of the Situation Room with the president's cabinet? And they think that there are recordings because the quotes are too accurate. Such a taped leak would be a shocking breach of one of the most secure settings on Earth. Independent recording devices in the Situation Room are forbidden. We're afraid some of our most sensitive conversations were being recorded, an administration source told us, and we have no idea which ones. Verbatim of accounts of several Situation Room meetings were included in excerpts about the Iran war and the Epstein files that the Times posted ahead of the book's June 23rd publication. The authors conducted more than 1,000 interviews for Regime Change, which covers Trump's second term. Tellingly, White House officials haven't disputed verbatim dialogue from top secret Situation Room talks, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying about Bibi's regime change scenarios for Iran. In other words, it's bullshit. So, basically, the question is, what all did they get? What all, if they're, pretend it's wrong. If they have recordings, they can't pretend that it's wrong. And if they have recordings, how the fuck did they get them? Because someone was wearing a wire, and whoever that person is deeply fucked if they get discovered. So, especially if they have recordings of JD Vance running defense for someone he believes is an Epstein-associated child molester, that is some, I can't even calculate the amount of potential damage such recordings could do, right? I can't even begin. Could it be a mole, hacked devices, unsecured SCIF? My guess is that it's not a mole, hacked devices, or an unsecured SCIF, because Maggie Haberman has a long-running career breaking stories like this. My guess is someone in that room independently recorded what was happening. Maybe Pete Hegseth had, no, guys, Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan do not have the capabilities to bug the Situation Room of the White House. It's not bugged. Someone had a device on their person, maybe like a fucking fountain pen with a recording element to it, or their phone on them, or something like that. I would say somebody had a device on them capable of recording. Some Spy Kids shit? Yeah, probably. Yeah. My guess is that Maggie Haberman, someone with a very, long journalistic career and, solid ethical grounding, as far as I can tell, isn't planting devices in the Situation Room. This is done already. This is done by somebody who obsessively records this shit. My guess would be a Pete Hegseth or a Pam Bondi, or somebody who needs to cover their ass desperately. So all of this is very interesting. Haberman and Swan are not commenting, not talking about this story, not talking about how they got this information at all. And if they do have recordings, the potential damage that could be done, I'm very, very interested to see what happens when this book gets published. I would like to get my hands on a copy and see what they've gotten there, right? It has profound implications for Donald Trump, profound implications for the Epstein files, and Trump's own implication within the Epstein files. Also, if there are recordings, they have no idea of what, right? So it could be of anything that was talked about in there. It could be things we aren't even aware of yet. I find this deeply, deeply interesting, and really want to. I can't wait until June 23rd to see what exactly is happening. I do want to point out something else that's tangentially related. That is that there is a Peter Thiel backed secretive organization that opened up in DC in 2025. And that group is called Dialog. And you'd be forgiven for not knowing what it is, because most people don't know what it is. And it is an invite-only, highly secretive group of people that Peter Thiel invites in, and then they have secret meetings on a wide variety of different things, right? Basically, it is a group where folks on Peter Thiel can invite people in and have private sit-down chats with a wide variety of powerful people, individuals both within our government as well as in business, right? And I would consider it to be deeply, deeply shady as hell. And, again, there's not really that much known about it. Like, what do they talk about? I don't know. What is happening in there? Nobody really knows. But they specifically aimed to build in Washington, D.C. in order to expand their influence within D.C. and, beyond, as it were. As you might expect, there's not a whole lot of information available about Dialog or what it's about. Online descriptions make it sound like a pared down, less transparent, intellectual, dark web tinged version of Davos, where well-connected folks sit around and discuss naughty ideas that the American peasantry just wouldn't get. Axios writes that a source invited to participate in the event described it as, quote, offering global elites the chance to talk candidly across ideological lines away from their phones and the pressures of social media, the news media, and their stakeholders. Simone Collins, one half of the notorious pro-natalist couple that made an unfortunate media glow-up a while back, previously worked as the managing director of the group. Now, many of you might be tingling at the Simone Collins. That's the pro-natalist duo that I've covered on this channel in the past, who are, frankly, absolutely psychotic, deeply, deeply anti-LGBTQ. They're awful. Also, they look like they're related. It's deeply weird. And they're associated with this project, right? And again, like, not a whole lot is known, but we do know some of the participants, right? Some of the participants have been talked about in the past, right? Reported members of Dialog include Rima Al Saud, member of the Al Saud family, or the House of Al Saud, Scott Bessant, the current Treasury Secretary, Cory Booker, very interestingly, Sophia Bush, actress from One Tree Hill, Ted Cruz, Tulsi Gabbard, Lori Gottlieb, Richard Haas, Jonathan Haidt, the anti-smartphone guy, Aaron Hoffman, Reid Hoffman, Robert Hur, Kaja Kallas, Gary Kasparov, Henry Kravis, Jared Kushner, interestingly, Wes Moore, Elon Musk, Grover Nordquist, Chamath Palihapitiya, Jared Polis. Oh, isn't that so interesting? Jared Polis is in there, everybody. Eric Schmidt, Anne-Marie Slaughter, Larry Summers, Peter Thiel, and Rick Warren. Now, these have all been folks who have been referenced in the past. But did you hear Kasparov? You did indeed. But you may have also heard the name Larry Summers in there, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel. Now, worth noting here, those are three men with ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And they're doing kind of a thing that Jeffrey Epstein did with Dialog, where they're bringing in a bunch of folks who are highly influential to try and, figure out what makes them tick, how they can be bought, right? Now, this is, of course, information that is largely only available via the Axios reporting, because a representative from Axios was invited to go to one of these meetings to see what was happening. Very interestingly, earlier today, a number of journalists were able to figure out that despite the fact that there is a extremely bare bones website for this, dialog.org, let me pull that up here. You go to the website, this is all that is here. Leaders join Dialog to discuss topics off the record. Nominations at dialog.org. And that's really all there is for this website. That's all it does. A bunch of journalistically minded folks managed to figure out by accessing dev tools online a list of 113 members of Dialog. And it's an interesting list, to say the least. Let me pull it up here. Imad Akhund, founder and CEO of Mercury. Turki Al Faisal Al Saud, another member of the Al Saud family, a former minister of intelligence from Saudi Arabia. You've got the ambassador of Saudi Arabia to the US, again, Rima Al Saud. Then you've got John Arnold, co-chair of Arnold Ventures. Susan Athey, from Stanford School of Business, and also, interestingly, former chief economist and part of the antitrust division of the U.S. Department of Justice. Then you have a physician named Peter Attia. Now, also worth noting, that's Peter Attia was Epstein's doctor. They were talking all about all kinds of weird shit in the emails in the Epstein files. And I would be very curious to know, to have somebody cross-reference who in Dialog is implicated in the Epstein files. Because I'm genuinely curious. Because Peter Thiel is directly mentioned in footage by Jeffrey Epstein. He was routing people towards Peter Thiel. Elon Musk is in the Epstein files, like, clearly yearning to party with Epstein. And, like, it's very interesting to see a bunch of folks in the same Epstein circle hanging out in Dialog. Again, you've got Scott Belsky, partner at A24 Films, Nicholas Berggren, founder and president of Berggren Holdings. Again, venture capitalist guys right and left. You got Elizabeth Blackburn, former president of the Salk Institute for Biomedical Studies. Preet Bharara, former U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York. You've got Sarah Bond, president of Xbox, Microsoft. Cory Booker again. Rachel Brand, chief legal officer and corporate secretary for Walmart. You've got Scooter Braun, got Pete Brigger, Greg Brockman, Manuel Bronstein, chief product officer of Roblox. Interestingly enough. Again, Greg Brockman, by the way, co-founder and president for OpenAI. You got Peter Brown. There's a whole lot of these guys here. And I am just genuinely deeply interested how many of these people turn up in the Epstein files. Why do you got the former governor of the state of Indiana here? Dan Driscoll, secretary in the U.S. Army. Why? Like, what the hell is going on here? I just do not trust this organization. I do not trust these people. And I have a very sneaking suspicion that they're getting a lot of the old gang back together. I'm sure they've added some new faces to Dialog, but I feel like they're getting the gang back together here. You know? Yeah, you got Sam Harris, Jim Himes, congressman for Connecticut. Got a lot of interesting folks here. Rob Hur. And it keeps on going, of course. Like, there's another page or two. Gary Kasparov. Ezra Klein's on this list. A lot of folks from OpenAI. Oh, hey, Leonard Leo from the Federalist Society is here. All I'm saying is, Neil Mohan, the CEO of YouTube. I'm not alleging Grover Nordquist is here. He's basically the guy who made the entire Republican Party coalesce around never ever raising taxes. Oh, Benj Pasek, songwriter and producer for La La Land, The Greatest Showman, and Dear Evan Hansen. There's just, I just have a sneaking suspicion that there are a lot of interesting implications for the people who are on this list. Oh, and in case you guys were wondering about that Moonshots, I think Dave Rubin was referencing Moonshots, or someone on the Patrick Bet-David show was referencing the show Moonshots. Astra Teller, the captain of Moonshots, is also on this list. Yeah, Nick Thompson, CEO of The Atlantic. I don't know. Like, I'm not alleging anything illegal is being done by these folks, but I am thinking that I do not trust a lot of this shit. Yeah, Steven Pinker is on here. A lot of folks. And all of this to say, I do think that the Trump White House being deeply, deeply afraid of being associated with the Epstein files, there being a secretive organization in DC created seemingly around a number of the main people who are implicated in the Epstein files or talked about in the Epstein files. Just find it deeply weird, and I feel like it's something more people should know about. And I think it's a big deal that we got a really sizable chunk of insight into who actually is being involved in this group, because I think it's important for us to keep tabs on these powerful people who are seeking to shape our world. We cannot act as if Peter Thiel, as a would-be oligarch, is doing this all just out of the goodness of his heart. So, all of this being said, White House is in a panic over Epstein. Dialog just got cracked, and now we know a whole slew of the people who are involved in that. And I just think that something feels like it's going to give. Something feels like it's going to get released. And I wish I had more to go on here. I wish I had more to give for you guys on this story, but really, I just find all of this deeply weird and deeply troubling. And I hope we wind up getting to the bottom of it, and I hope the Epstein files finally get released, because the longer that goes on, the more certain it is that they're hiding shit. So, anyway, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about these lists. I'll link the original folks who uncovered this in the chats and in the description. So go check that out if you want to see the full list. If any of you have the time to like cross-check with what is publicly released from the Epstein files, feel free to do so. Let me know what you find. All that being said, get organized, folks. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, kick out corporate Democrats, empower progressives and leftists in the party, and also make your DSA more effective. We can help you do that. Join our Discord, reach out to Gamergy for help with DSA, reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. And if you want to get involved with Progressive Victory, there's a link down in the description for you to be able to get plugged into any number of leftist campaigns across the country to do door knocking, phone banking, text banking, research, etc. You can really help out a lot of campaigns that are needing the manpower the closer we get to the midterms. So go check that out as well. And last but not least, folks, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes, also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. Go check it out. ImogeneOlivia.com. It is comfortable, sexy lingerie that's non-tucking. Link down in the description. Let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.